Donald Trump defied all the odds we keep hearing to get elected. Once again, after being discredited. And hey, he's actually more popular than he has been for a while. So if you bring up this chart, you're gonna see his approval rating over his first term, and then Joe Biden's approval rating over his, and then where Trump is starting. And that's where we're at, that red dot on the far right now. And I think we can all agree that that is higher than it should be right now. How could he possibly be at 47%? Oh dear God, are we all wrong? Are his ideas actually good? Well, we've already analyzed polling on his actual proposals and they're not popular. What he is getting here is what presidents always get, which is a burst in approval as they start. Trump had it his first time. He was at almost exactly this point as he entered the presidency the first time. Now, Joe Biden was far more popular for, I think, probably obvious reasons. But what you'll notice about both of them is that they did go down. And for Trump in the first term, it didn't take long. And so I bring this up because we know that his proposals are not popular. We know from the experience of his first term that people don't like the chaos of every day of him being president. They unfortunately forgot that during the election. But the reason I bring this up is I think that they're going to be reminded again very soon, because we've only had 1 week and we already have the chaos of immigration and we have the Nazi salutes and we have all this nonsense once again. People are not going to like this. And so I looked at the numbers. And so he started at 47%, okay? Or sorry, 49%. 4 months later, 4 months, he was at 37%. By the end of his first year, he was at 33. He lost basically everything but his core in 1 year, when he was the less aggressive Trump. Now he's the full, it's gonna be a bloody thing Trump. He's the fire and fury and blood and all that. I think he could drop even faster. And I say that both because I think it's good to get out there with those predictions, especially when you believe they're accurate, but also to give people a little bit of hope. Because I think a lot of people feel like maybe they're taking crazy pills, because how can so many people support something so terrible? Well, just buckle up, wait a little bit. I think within the year they won't. But Brett, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, the reason I think that folks give him more approval is, it's this weird instinct that a lot of us have to just be the bigger person and be like, you know what? He's the president, let's support it because there's some modicum of patriotism. And last time when he did the horrible thing and tried to pretend he was the president even after he lost, that was a bad thing. I want to embrace the result. That's what I'll do. Obviously, if there's two choices, it has this like ballast effect where you in the context of an election, some people like hate that they just want change and they don't like either candidate, but they dislike one more because he's the status quo, and they vote for the other one, and that translates to approval. There's a lot of like strange normalizing and offsetting of displeasure. But once Trump's the president, you're just immediately like, I don't like how it is right now.
Yeah,
a lot of people drop off, and that's just how it works. That's how it works because sometimes the person who's in charge doesn't deliver on the optimism they gave you when they were running, and it's very obvious because there's no excuses. And Trump's going to try really hard to make excuses for his failures and try to, polish up the turds he drops. And it's going to be harder for him to do that, even though he has quite an infrastructure built around him to make it seem like everything he does is perfect.
Yeah, Fox News is they're not going to admit all of this or whatever. But the thing is, people did realize it the first time. He's already saying, no, the whole thing about like fixing the prices and dealing with Ukraine, we're not going to do that. Like literally, like that was just a thing I said. Like, come on, everybody, you need to grow up. I didn't actually mean that. But people do want that stuff, and he's not going to deliver it. He is a more aggressive, more unrestrained and deranged version of himself, and people didn't like the more restrained version. They're going to absolutely hate this, and that could prove very consequential because we have elections in 2 years. He could lose control of the Senate. He could certainly lose, and almost certainly will lose control of the House. And as his brain degrades more and more, he has less impulse control than he did when he was only a relatively elderly man. And so, I could be wrong. Feel free to point me to this in a couple of years, as we're scrounging through dust heaps for copper wire or whatever. But anyway, I think there's good reason to believe that he is going to regret some of the moves that he makes.